Iraq's government is working this morning to reclaim the key city of Ramadi from ISIS. The extremist group seized the provincial capital over the weekend. Militants reportedly killed at least 500 people and forced another 8,000 to leave. Video released by ISIS appears to show Iraqi soldiers, look at this, retreating from Ramadi in defeat. Plans for a counteroffensive are reportedly in the works. Senator Lindsey is critical of President Obama's handling of Iraq. The South Carolina Republican sits on the Armed Services Committee and may announce his run for president soon. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
This is really significant, and I think for people who followed the Iraq war very closely, Anbar province, more than 1,300 U.S. troops lost their lives there. What is going on?
Well, Anbar province is where the Sunnis live, and this is a blow to political reconciliation. If you're a Sunni in Anbar province, you can't believe that this new government in Baghdad can defend you. So what's going on is that we withdrew our forces too soon. The Iraqi security forces have melted down, and ISIS now has a big foothold throughout the Mideast.
So what do we, go ahead. What do we need to do now, Senator? You were told, Nora, back on Face the Nation a while ago that 10,000 troops are going to be needed on the ground. Did you just say war?
More. General Keane describes this as not enough. We need more trainers, we need more advisors, we need more Iraqi security force units that can degrade and destroy ISIL inside of Iraq. We don't have enough military presence on the American side to change the tide of battle.
What's your definition of more?
Somewhere around 10,000 is the number I keep coming back to. I think Bob Gates has a different number, but Jack Keane, who was the architect of the surge, says that you need trainers at the battalion level. You need some aviation assets that we have, the Iraqis don't. Somewhere around 10,000 troops is what General Keane says we would need to build capacity to allow the Iraqi security forces not only to take back Anbar, but eventually go to Mosul. The most effective fighting force in Iraq today is Shia militias controlled by Iran, and that is sad.
So we don't want them in this battle?
I hope not, because if Shia militias controlled by the Iranians go into Sunni Anbar province, I'm afraid you're going to have a bloodletting like you haven't seen.
And they're worse, therefore, than having ISIS have these continued victories.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're in a pickle here. The longer we delay training Iraqi security forces to be a national army, the more influence Iran has. And to drive them out of Iraq, you eventually got to deal with Syria, because if you don't deal with Syria, they'll just keep coming back across the border. This is a complete mess. And does it matter to us? Yes, because the most likely place for America to get attacked from, I think, is Syria.
Two of your fellow Republicans, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, have been asked about whether we should have gone into Iraq in the first place, and some discussion about whether they stumbled that question. Why has this become such now, do you think, a big issue? And is it because Iraq's back in the news? Is this a problem for your... We heard Secretary Gates say with Bob Schieffer yesterday, he's not been very impressed by some of the foreign policy answers by some of the Republicans.
Well, I think the question is, did we make a blunder here to create the problems that we now see? If we'd left Iraq alone, would we be okay?
Yeah, you keep coming back to that, though, but a lot of things have happened since then.
Yeah, I agree, but 9/11 was 2 years before Iraq. Radical Islam attacked us on September the 11th from Afghanistan. The day before September 11th, we didn't have one soldier in Afghanistan. We didn't have an embassy. Not one dime of aid went to Afghanistan. So they attacked us anyway. This is a religious war, but going into Iraq, if I know now, then what I know now, would I have launched a ground invasion? Probably not. I'd probably had another approach to Saddam. But that's yesterday's thinking. What do we do today and tomorrow and the day after? You have to reset Iraq.
But it's interesting, what you just said is Marco Rubio or Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush, I think, has come around to that point, but Marco Rubio couldn't reach that point to say, even if we knew what we know now, then we wouldn't have gone into Iraq, is what you just said. Well, I would have tried to find another solution.
Well, Saddam Hussein was shooting at airplanes. He was denying UN inspectors access to sites. He was gassing his own people. He needed to go, but if I knew the intelligence was faulty, I'd have reconfigured. But at the end of the day, he is gone, and I'm worried about an attack on our homeland. Here's the question for us. Should one more American soldier die in the service of Iraq, or maybe going into Syria? My answer is that I'm afraid that more American soldiers will die in Iraq, eventually in Syria, to protect our homeland.
On Friday, you said that there's a 99.9% chance that you were going to make an announcement to run for president. You know, when you're a little kid, your mom says there's no time like the present. We offer you this beautiful platform.
Well, it is a beautiful platform, but it's not as beautiful as Central South Carolina, where I will make an announcement on June 1st. You're all invited to come, spend money when you do, and I will tell you what I'm going to do about running for president.
May I ask you one question?
Yes, you may.
Are you running in part because you look at the field and you don't think they're very sophisticated on foreign policy, and you believe that's the one thing you bring to the race?
It's a really good question. I've got the best job in the world, a senator from South Carolina. I've got a very comfortable life. I'm running because of what you see on television. I'm running because I think the world is falling apart. I've been more right than wrong on foreign policy. It's not the fault of others or their lack of this or that that makes me want to run. It's my ability in my own mind to be a good commander-in-chief and to make Washington work. The reason I've had 6 primary opponents in my last election is that I've been accused of working with Democrats too much. In my view, Democrats and Republicans work together too little. And I would try to change that if I got to be president. And when it came to radical Islam, I would go after them before they come back here again.
Sounds like we got a little bit of a jump on South Carolina.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
We'll be watching, Senator Graham.
great.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.